There is a layer of pink fiberglass insulation sitting 8 feet above your bed right now. Every crack in your ceiling, every gap around a light fixture, every leaky duct joint in your attic is pulling microscopic glass fibers into the air you breathe. Your HVAC system recirculates that air 6 to 8 times a day. The average American home loses 20% of its conditioned air through leaky ductwork. That air passes through the fiberglass in your attic and carries tiny glass particles back into every room in your house. You breathe them while you eat. You breathe them while you sleep. You breathe them while your children play on the floor. We do not use fiberglass. We never have. We use a material that has insulated homes for over 1,000 years, costs $4 a square foot, and does not shed a single fiber into your lungs. The insulation industry prays you never find out what it is. After the last video, many of you asked about insulation. You said you had seen the pink rolls in your attic and wondered if there was something better. There is. And it has been sitting on a sheep's back since before anyone thought to melt glass into fibers and stuff it into your walls. Here is the number that should concern you. In 1994, the U.S. National Toxicology Program listed certain inhalable glass wool fibers as reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen. That listing stood for 17 years. In 2011, they narrowed the classification to distinguish between types of glass wool fibers, removing some from the list. But the listing still exists today for fibers that are biopersistent, meaning they stay in your lungs instead of dissolving. In 2012, the North American Insulation Manufacturers Association, the industry's own trade group, removed the cancer warning label from fiberglass products. The label came off the product. It did not come off the government list. Think about that. Let me tell you what fiberglass actually is. It is molten glass spun into fine threads. Those threads are sharp, they are microscopic, and they break. Every time fiberglass is disturbed, touched, compressed, or vibrated by wind or a running HVAC system, tiny fragments break off and become airborne. If you have ever installed fiberglass, you know what happens. Your skin itches for days. Your eyes burn. Your throat tightens. Those are glass particles cutting into your tissue. That is not an allergic reaction. That is a physical injury from microscopic shards of glass. Now think about what is happening in your attic every single day. Your ductwork runs through that insulation. The return side of your HVAC system pulls air into the air handler to be heated or cooled. If there are gaps, cracks, or holes in the return duct, and there almost always are, the blower fan pulls fiberglass particles into the system. Those particles travel through the supply ducts and blow into your living room, your kitchen, your bedroom. An air quality specialist named Jeffrey Bradley, president of a company called Indoor Doctor, has said that fiberglass is often the cause when homeowners with young children report chronic cough and eye irritation. He said the problem is especially widespread in new homes where fiberglass duct insulation is standard. This is the material that replaced what we use, and I want you to understand what we use, because when you see the comparison, you will not believe that anyone chose fiberglass over this. We use sheep wool. Sheep wool has been insulating homes for over 1,000 years. Mongolian nomads used felted and woven sheep wool pads on the walls and floors of their yurts. European builders stuffed wool into wall cavities for centuries before fiberglass existed. When our families came from Switzerland and Germany to Pennsylvania and Ohio, they brought sheep with them. The wool insulated the walls. The sheep provided the wool every spring. The system renewed itself every year. Here is why wool is better than fiberglass in every way that matters. R value. Sheep wool insulation has an R value of approximately R3.5 to R4.0 per inch. Fiberglass bats are rated at R3.7 per inch. The numbers are nearly identical. But wool does something fiberglass cannot: moisture. Sheep wool can absorb up to 35% of its own weight in moisture without losing its insulating properties. That is how sheep stay warm in the rain. The surface stays dry, while the interior absorbs water vapor. Mold spores cannot get a foothold on a dry surface. Fiberglass cannot do this. When fiberglass gets wet, it loses effectiveness. Moisture sits against your wood framing and breeds mold. Americans spend $15 billion a year on mold remediation. Much of that mold started behind wet fiberglass. Fire resistance. Sheep wool has a natural ignition temperature of 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. It does not melt. It does not drip. It does not release toxic fumes when exposed to flame. Fiberglass melts at around 1,000 degrees. When it melts, it can drip onto surfaces below and spread fire. The pink insulation in your attic is less fire-resistant than sheep hair. Air quality. Wool does not shed particles into your air. You can handle it with bare hands. You can press it against your face and breathe through it. No gloves, no mask, no protective suit. Researchers have documented that wool can actually absorb harmful airborne contaminants through a process called chemisorption. The amino acids in the wool protein neutralize pollutants like formaldehyde. Your fiberglass insulation sheds glass into your air. Wool cleans it. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. In 1938, Owens Illinois Glass Company and Corning Glass Works formed the Owens Corning Fiberglass Corporation in Toledo, Ohio. Within 11 years, they controlled half the insulation market in America. The Department of Justice filed an antitrust suit. A court forced them to license their patents, but by then, fiberglass was the default. Wool, straw, cotton, every natural material that had insulated homes for centuries was pushed aside, not tested and rejected, not proven inferior, just replaced by a product that could be manufactured at industrial scale and sold at industrial profit. The insulation industry generates over $60 billion a year worldwide. Owens Corning alone posted $11 billion in sales in 2024. Sheep wool cannot be patented. It cannot be manufactured in a factory. It grows on an animal's back and falls off once a year. You cannot build a $60 billion industry on a product that grows in a pasture. You can only build that industry by making sure nobody uses the product that grows in a pasture. Not banned, not disproven, just replaced. Now, if you already own a house and you are thinking this does not apply to you, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. You do not need to tear out all of your existing insulation. You do not need a contractor. You do not need anyone's permission. Here is what you can do right now. First, check your attic ductwork. Go up with a flashlight. Look at every joint, every connection, every bend in the return duct. If you see gaps, if you see daylight between sections, if you see fiberglass insulation touching exposed ductwork, you have a pathway for glass particles to enter your air. Seal every gap with mastic sealant or metal-backed tape, not cloth duct tape. It fails within a year. Mastic or foil tape. A roll costs $8, one afternoon. This single step reduces fiberglass particle infiltration into your living space immediately. Second, add wool on top of fiberglass. You do not need to remove what is there. Sheep wool bats are available in standard sizes, 16-inch and 24-inch widths, designed to fit between standard framing. Lay them directly over the existing fiberglass. The wool layer on top acts as a cap. It absorbs moisture that would otherwise sit in the fiberglass. It prevents fiberglass particles from becoming airborne into the attic space. And it adds R-value. A 3.5-inch wool bat adds R13 to R15 on top of what you already have. Wool insulation is available from manufacturers like Havelock Wool and can be ordered online. Cost runs $4 to $5 per square foot. For a 500 square foot attic, that is $2,000 to $2,500. Compare that to the $15 billion Americans spend on mold remediation every year. Compare it to the medical bills from chronic respiratory irritation that no one can explain. Third, if you are building new or renovating, specify wool insulation for the entire envelope, walls, attic, floor. It installs exactly like fiberglass bats, friction fit between studs, no special tools, no protective clothing, no respirator, no itching, no coughing. Your builder will tell you it costs more than fiberglass. It does. The material costs 2 to 3 times more per square foot, but fiberglass does not absorb moisture. Fiberglass does not resist fire at 1100 degrees. Fiberglass does not clean your air. And fiberglass needs replacing every 15 to 25 years when it sags, compresses, and loses its R-value. Wool holds its loft for the life of the building. Everything I have covered across this channel, the stove, the fossil powder, the water heater valve, and now this, is available in one place. The Amish home system, link in the description. But stay here, because what I am about to tell you is the part that nobody talks about, and it is the reason our houses smell different from yours. Here is what I have never heard anyone outside our community explain. Wool does not just insulate. It breathes. It takes in moisture when the air is humid and releases it when the air is dry. Your engineers call this hygroscopic buffering. We just call it a wall that works. In our older farmhouses, the walls regulate indoor humidity without any machine. In summer, the wool absorbs moisture from the thick Ohio air. In winter, when the wood stove dries out the house, the wool releases moisture back into the room. No humidifier in winter. No dehumidifier in summer. The house stays comfortable because the walls are doing what walls are supposed to do. Breathing. Your drywall does not breathe. Your fiberglass does not breathe. Your house is sealed like a plastic bag with a furnace inside it, and then you wonder why you need a $200 dehumidifier in July and a $50 humidifier in January. You are buying machines to fix a problem that the wrong insulation created. A sheep solves it. $4 a square foot. No machine, no filter to replace, no electricity. A material that has been keeping homes warm and dry and breathable for 1,000 years, pushed aside in 1938 so that a glass company in Toledo, Ohio, could sell you something that makes your skin itch, your lungs burn, and your walls rot. The wool is still on the shelf. The sheep are still in the pasture. And the fiberglass is still in your attic, shedding glass into the air your children breathe 6 to 8 times a day through a duct system that was never sealed properly in the first place. We looked at fiberglass once. We picked it up. It cut our hands. We put it down and never picked it up again. That was the entire evaluation. Sometimes common sense is faster than a government study. Drop your car, your state, in the comments, and tell me what insulation is in your attic right now. Fiberglass? Cellulose? Spray foam? Nothing. I want to hear it. And if you have ever had unexplained coughing, itching, or eye irritation in your home that comes and goes with the seasons, tell me that story. Because when your HVAC system kicks on in summer and winter and the symptoms start, that is not allergies. That is your attic. If you are the kind of person who believes that real, practical knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do next. Hit subscribe. Not for me, for what comes next. Because in the next video, I'm going to show you what we do with wood ash that eliminates the need for one of the most expensive products in your bathroom, and the company memo from 1993 that proves the manufacturer knew their product was unnecessary the entire time. You do not want to miss that.